recipient really likes it, chances are other people will like it too. And they'll pay you for it. Look, I know what's on everybody's tongue right now. Everybody's mind is the shooting out in San Bernardino, California. And I could jump on the bandwagon and start yapping about it. But the point is that right now there isn't a lot of real factual data coming out. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a newscaster, so I don't need to be giving you the updates every 30 seconds. And the news coming out there of California is very fluid. It is very serious. Now, evidently, they've caught a vehicle that matched the description that was given to them earlier about people getting in a vehicle and speeding away. There were shots fired. There's a person in custody, possibly a perpetrator who was injured or killed. We know that so far there are 14 deaths, and now they just changed it. There are 17 injured, and I can't really comment a lot on what's happening out there because right now there is no motive. They don't even know if they have the people. I guess they have one or two people in custody. They don't even know if these people are related to what happened or if it's something totally different. We don't know the full story yet. But what you have is a bunch of politicos running to the mic, falling all over themselves and falling over each other to be the first to the mic to start running out there, especially liberals, start blaming the NRA and we need gun control laws. Look, these folks evidently, from what I have heard so far, and I was actually just listening to the newscast before I came on the air. What we know so far, and right now even the police aren't even sure what the information they have. But so far, what I have heard is that there's 1 to 3 shooters. They're still not sure if it's 3. I don't know if they got 2 or 3 people in the vehicle with the shootout. They got 1 person on the ground. We don't know that yet. But evidently, the 3 shooters went in there with tactical gear. They had some body armor and some bulletproof vests or something. They were dressed like they were in tactical gear, and they knew what they were doing. So I got to tell you, gun control is not going to stop people who do what these people obviously did, and that is plan out their attack. Now, one of the police spokespersons or spokesmen out there is suggesting that maybe one or all of the perpetrators knew the building or buildings that they were going to, and that this was planned. And they can't understand. They're not sure yet how they could have possibly have gotten away. Because, the whole thing is you get active shooter, everybody, while everybody's screaming and running on the way out, the cops and the first responders are running on the way in, and they try to clamp it down and catch the guy. And this is something totally different because usually they catch the person, and the person chooses death over being, arrested. So either they fire at the cops and the cops are forced to fire back at them, or they commit suicide on their own. It's it's pretty much suicide by cop. There's a lot of that happens. But in this particular case, these people seem to understand and know exactly what they were doing. They had it timed out so they could get out. Get out of the shooting situation and scurry off someplace else. And that has thrown the police for a loop. Because they don't understand what's going on. This is not fitting the scenario. Now, folks, I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists. I'm not one of those nutjob conspiracy theorists. But look, you got to question this stuff. And you're probably saying, uh-oh, Rod is joining the conspiracy theorist gang. And I'm thinking, no. I'm trying to view this logically, with a bit of skepticism, because I have the skeptical eye that I cast towards the Obama administration. Now, remember, Barack Hussein Obama said that his number one objective for his last term in office is to get serious, consequential gun confiscation and gun control laws put on the books. He is over in overseas in Paris and other places saying that, the only place that mass shootings occur is in the USA. Forgetting the fact that just a few weeks earlier, in the city that he's giving that speech or saying that stupid stuff was a city that just had a mass shooting where 130 people died. And many more, hundreds more were wounded and injured. But so he's over in Paris saying, yeah, only in America do we have these mass shootings. So we got a president who says that his goal is to get gun control, even ban some guns. He goes to Paris and says that, only mass shootings only happen in the USA, and besides climate change, mass shootings are the most dangerous thing on the planet to mankind, or at least to Americans, is mass shooters, along with climate change. And then all of a sudden, a few days later, we get a mass shooting, as if on cue. And it doesn't follow the typical scenario of mass shootings of the past. And the first people to run to the mic, even before the bullets stop flying, are people who are for gun control. And what do they say? They say, well, we need comprehensive gun control legislation, and we should, kick out the NRA. And you got Hillary Clinton saying the NRA should be made illegal. And they're blaming the NRA for this shooting. We don't know where these people got their guns. We don't know how many of them were there in their shooting. We don't know their reason behind the shooting. But I'm telling you, all of this stuff looks very highly skeptical. Now, for those of you out there who think, well, George Bush is the reason for 9/11, he caused it, man. He ordered those planes flown into the building. I find it amazing that people like that are so willing to blame George Bush for the war on terror and in 9/11 and the World Trade Center. And look, they put detonators and stuff in the buildings. Those buildings were demolished. They didn't come down because of jet fuel. This was staged and planned. And they point to all the things, this Jewish group wasn't there and this Arabic group wasn't there. And, forget that there were, at that particular day, there was a certain holiday. I think it was a Jewish holiday. Was September 11th a Jewish holiday? I don't remember because I'm not up on all the Jewish. I know when Hanukkah is like coming up soon, but that's about the only Jewish holiday that I know of. I don't even what Ramadan is around now. When the hell is Ramadan? I don't really care, but it's around now, isn't it? I thought maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't keep up with non-Christian holidays, except for maybe Hanukkah. But the point that I'm making is that these people are so willing to blame George Bush for getting us into this permanent war footing, and yet they're dismissing or poo-pooing this whole notion that every time that there is a major shooting, and this is a different one, this is a different scenario. It seems like whenever these people are talking about guns and gun control, within a week we have a shooting. Now, it's kind of coincidental, don't you think? It's a coinkadink, as some people say. I like to say that, coinkadink. I didn't invent that word, by the way. It was an old friend, way long ago. It's my ex-wife's friend, and she used to say it a lot, and it sort of stuck with me ever since. But it's an amazing coincidence that these sort of things seem to happen whenever politicos talk about and focus on them. Very interesting. Now, maybe this is just a coinkadink. that Obama is out there talking about gun violence in the United States and mass shootings in the United States and wanting, having his last year being spent on climate change and taking guns out of law-abiding citizens' hands. But I'm never. What was Rahm Emanuel? You never let a good emergency go to waste. A good tragedy. You never let anything like this go to waste, politically speaking. And of course, the liberals are jumping on the bandwagon, saying it's the NRA's fault. I'm sure that they have probably, when all is said and done, they will have blamed Rush Limbaugh and Sarah Palin, as well as the NRA and conservatives everywhere who want to, and the Second Amendment, and our founding fathers, because they put in the Second Amendment. It's the founding fathers' fault, and it's Rush Limbaugh's fault, and it's Sarah Palin's fault, and it's the NRA's fault, National Rifle Association, and it's everybody else's fault who wants guns in their house for this shooting today. It's not terrorism. No, it couldn't be terrorism. It can't be Middle Eastern Islamic terrorists. Nope. It can't be that. It's got to be the fault of some American somewhere in the past that is dictating the present, which will direct the future. Because, hey, if the Founding Fathers put in the Second Amendment, they got to be responsible for this mass shooting today. They got to be held accountable. So we have this talk coming from these left-wing politicos already disparaging gun owners. You even got, what is it? The president says that the gun violence in the USA is unparalleled in the world. I don't know. When was the last time 130 people died in shootings in the United States? I know we had nearly 3,000 Americans killed when planes crashed into buildings and in fields, empty fields, but when was the last time there was 130 people that were shot to death in one act of violence? And you still have more. Supposedly, Obama's also out there saying, well, cities and states that have the toughest gun laws have the lowest crime rates. Really? So the reason that Washington, D.C. was once the murder capital of the world, let alone the United States, and Chicago is, I think, now usurping that title, and they have some of the strictest gun laws in the books anywhere, not just in the U.S., but in the world, and yet their crime rate is out of control. And states and municipalities that have a very open gun ownership policy, following the Second Amendment, they have some of the lowest crime rates in the country and in the world. And you're probably sitting out there thinking, well, geez, yeah, that's true, Rod. And you're going to start questioning me why I think maybe there might be a little bit of a conspiracy working here. I'm just putting it out there, just saying. I find it rather amazing. And these places, because these are soft targets, I've talked to you about soft targets before. These types of people, these types of criminals, they don't want to be shot at. Maybe they do want to die. They want to commit suicide or commit suicide by cop. But they want to do as much damage as they possibly can first. They don't want to be confronted. Most of them don't make any contingency for being confronted. You confront them and you throw their whole plan off because they're expecting you to be unarmed. They're expecting you to be a scaredy cat, a cowering in a corner somewhere, so you're easy pickings. And then they expect, the cops to do what they do, come and bust in, guns a-blazing, and either they shoot themselves or they get, point the gun at the cops, and half the time they don't even fire, they just point and they get shot and they're gone. But this is something totally different. Because these people seem to be professionals. They were in and they were gone. They were out and gone. And nobody knows where they went. And we're still not sure if we got them all, or any of them, in this car that they stopped and fired upon. Kind of makes you wonder.